It's lovely to see everybody here. Steph, I think, well, we would be great if people start asking questions, because I know you want to just like chat and answer questions and talk about your journey. But while people are asking some questions, shall I pop that video on we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, did you want me to just do an introduction of who I am? I mean, I'm an old hag now. I've been doing, and my children just gone, yeah, mum. So I'm going into my 19th years of national and international Grand Prix. I've been very lucky that I've managed to produce 3 horses so far, and luckily they have longevity. So I've managed to have 3 horses at Grand Prix, an international Grand Prix for quite a while. But I'm not just a rider, I'm a mum, as you saw, because obviously today's been chaos with saxophone lessons, hockey matches, getting them back from school. Ben's panicking because he needs to get on to his teams to do his maths homework, and we don't know if that's going to work, as well as the webinar. This is the things you have to put up with. So I'm a mum as well, obviously a dutiful, come say hello. Dutiful wife. We've been together for I think it's about 30 years now. A long-suffering husband, and I also have a PhD in mine water geochemistry. So I'm a mine water geochemist as well. Another string to my bow. So I sort of fell into horses and dressage. Because I was a rugby player. So it's not really my background. I never come up through families or anything like that. I sort of fell into it. So that's really who I am.
Wow. So there is lots to ask Steph about in terms of her life. And we said, of course, we'll cover her success story, have a chat about how you look for potential in horses, talk about your training techniques, top tips for dressage on the shoestring, etc. So you'll answer all questions potentially, depending on how personal they are. Just for those of you who haven't used Zoom before, if you on a laptop, if you hover the mouse towards the bottom, and sometimes it's at the top, depending on your whether you're on an Apple Mac, you can see Q&A. So if you click on Q&A, you can type a question and type any time you want to. If you think of something, just pop it in there, and then we'll see it and we'll ask Steph the question.
And obviously we are pre-watershed, so obviously keep it clean. Ish.
Innuendo's fine.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right, well, I'm going to play this video because I think it's absolutely fabulous. And this is a video of you riding your first amazing, dreamy international dressage horse, Mr. President, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And it was there was a second year. The first year was when I got a call, probably about later than this, when they said a spot had come up at Olympia, and they said, do you want it? And I said, well, I would have been a fool to say no. So it's the most amazing atmosphere to actually be in front of an audience of about 10,000, and them all clapping your final centre line, and you're on your horse thinking, I just hope I can halt at the end of this. Otherwise, I'm going to be in Yorkshire. So it was fun.
Amazing. Right, I'll put it on and then we'll ask all of those questions and find out more about what it was like. We've just got the last minute and a half.
Yeah.
President. Round of recognition. A great performance again last year in the Grand Prix Rider. Finish in place. Really went for it tonight. Steph Croxford, Mr. President.
Wow. How did that feel?
Oh, a tear in my eye again. It's almost like it's another era now. I am what I am today because of him. So, without that little horse that I bought out the back of the Yorkshire Post for £2,500, I'd be nothing now. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So, or who I am now. You can't believe you have those moments in your life that become pinnacle and how they change your direction and your focus. And obviously I was a geochemist. That was before at that time I'd just had Annabelle. So I'd got a baby in the pram at the side of the arena as well. So it's changed. It's you wouldn't think small things. It was like the conversation I had when I was cross country in Mr. President for it. He had his name, Mr. President, Rimmer he was called. And when the Sonia Berry it was just a cross-country local trainer said, I don't know what you're doing jumping these fences. You should be out doing the dressage arena. And it was that moment, that sentence, that has created the last 20 years of my life, that moment.
Yeah, horses, I always think horses come to people for a reason, and that was his reason for you.
Yeah, and it's really strange, and I love all my horses, and it's a bit like their children. I don't have a favourite; they're all equal, but it was like we've known each other over many lifetimes. It was, if I had to sit on a horse to take me into battle and look after me, it would be him. He would have died for me. I felt he would have died for me. He would have done anything for me. He protected me. He could be a muppet sometimes, a big daft, but I never felt he would ever harm me in any way. And he was my protector. And that's how I felt like Mr. Hyde, who was my second international Grand Prix horse. He would go round the fire very quickly. Would he go through fire for me? Not so sure. Mr. P, he'd have gone through that fire for me. If I said go, he'd have gone, absolutely, you tell me what you want, Mum, and I will do it.
Wow. Oh, amazing. Bless him. We'd love to hear a bit more about how this journey started, maybe, the lead up to somebody saying to you, this horse should be in the dressage ring. How did horses start for you? How did you become an international dressage rider?
Well, you've just seen Simon, my husband. It's his fault. Oh. And I've said he can never moan. I am what he made me. Because when he met me at university, I was playing university rugby. And he was out and he would go hunting down in Somerset every other weekend. And sometimes I would go down with him and I would be left in the small cottage, often with a power cut, for 8 hours on my own while he went off with his horse and went hunting. So I then thought, this isn't fair. If, I need to, if I can't, I need to join them. So I then remember borrowing his sister's horse, promptly lasted about 30 seconds on, and it bolted home. So I didn't learn. That was my first encounter, and that was on Exmoor. Yeah, so he knew his way home. I had a long walk back. So
had you actually learned to ride at this point, Steph?
No.
Oh, just thought you'd give it a crack.
remember, I'm a rugby player. I didn't care about falling off. I didn't care about things like that. So no, not really. I'd had a few lessons when I was little, you know, on ponies. I did a pony trek type things. I always loved horses, but obviously I wasn't in a family that enabled me to have horses or that kind of lifestyle. So I was more tennis and rugby and, you know, athletics and that kind of sport that I was involved with when I was younger. So suddenly then to be thrust into this world that I didn't really know, I didn't really recognize. And one of my first presents that I was given, actually, no, it was our engagement present, was his nutty hunter. It was called Gallo, not just for any reason. It was called Gallo for a reason. Gallo was my first horse, and he was my first one because Simon got a younger horse, and he gifted me Gallo, and I took him up to Scotland, my first job, and basically he taught me to ride, because in fact I never knew which end was going up first. I didn't know it was the front end, the back end, both at the same time, and I was hooning around, you know, Pennycook. And the places. I remember on riding him, and you know, it was gone in the days when it was really late at night and it was light in Edinburgh, and you could go and ride right into the city centre, round the castle, and hack back out again, and you wouldn't see any traffic. It was amazing. This was in the, it was in the mid-90s. You think but mid-90s, you could still go and hack into the centre of Edinburgh, round the castle and back out again at 10 o'clock at night in the light. You know, it was things like that. So it taught me a lot. And he was a very good hunter, and he jumped. And then I had another horse that I bought called Waverley, and he was an ex-steeplechaser, and I bought him up in Scotland. And he was brilliant, but he got kicked in a field, and I wanted to event and jump and do all that. And then he got a star fracture in his one of his front knees, and excuse me. So he ended up going off for an easier life. So we gave him to a hacking home, and I was so upset when he was going that I remember saying to my friend Hayley at the time, the livery yard where we were when we lived in moved down to South Leverton, and I said, right, come on, we're just going to go and have a look in the back of the Yorkshire Post, and whatever we see, we're just going to go and have a look at a horse. It doesn't matter where it is, what it is, because I'm too emotionally attached to see Waverley go. So I remember sitting there, and we promptly went off to North Yorkshire to Ian Smith. And bless him, he showed me this little chestnut 4-white. All it said was 4-year-old chestnut gelding, white socks. That was it. Okay, that's it. So I looked at 4-year-old chestnut gelding, white socks. I went, you got anything else? And he had the old-fashioned, maybe the Victorian stalls, you know, that the drivers have. And he must have had about 9 other horses all in there, and he showed me them all, and he went, no, you really need to see this little chap out. I went, oh, go on then. So he then got him out, and the reason I bought him was he could jump a 5-bar gate from a standstill. That's how, because he could jump, and I just thought he had a funny trot, and I didn't realise until later on that was called passage, darling, passage. And so I ended up buying him, bartered him down to £2,500, thought I did quite well. So I, as I say, bought him, and I bought him with a view to event him, jump him and do everything. And that's why I went off to cross-country clinics and show jumping clinics, did a bit like my daughter. Dressage is the boring bit to get to the fun bit. So I did all that, and that's when the cross-country trainer turned around and went, this horse should be on a dressage arena. And I went and did some unaffiliated, went, oh, this is easy. I won. This is so easy. So I went in, and then I affiliated and realised that it wasn't that easy, actually. No, not that easy. And I absolutely got slaughtered in the young horse class, because I thought, oh, it's 4. I do the young horse classes. Oh, they annihilated us in the 4-year-olds, the 5-year-olds, the 6-year-olds. 7-year-olds. So I think we were bottom in the 7-year-olds at Solihull that year. Yeah, 62%. I remember. And then the rest is really, history.
So how did you progress from your bottom of the 7-year-old class? What did you work with?
I winged it by reading Dane Rawlings' book, his old book. I used to get Dane's book out and look at the pictures, and it had Kirsty Menfon's Dickaloo on it. I went, oh, with Dickaloo can do it, I'll have a go. So I learned. So basically, he was almost like a reincarnated international dressage, Grand Prix dressage horse. If I put my leg in a certain place, he knew what to do. He went, oh, your leg's there, sideways. Oh, your leg's there, flying change. Oh, that's passage. I learned passage by where we lived in South Leverton. There was a pig farm nearby, and I used to call it his goose step, but apparently that was passage. So again, I put my passage to it, and then I learned piaffe, of going out of the village when I lived here in Ible, and I just thought, I always remember Steph Cooper saying, it's like when you see the horses at the races, when they're really excited getting to the start, and she said it's like they're really excited. She said that energy, that power, that quickness, and I always, and it's little things like that stay with you, don't they? Little snippets. And I remember saying that, and like I say, so I knew that was what piaffe was. It was quicker than passage. Passage was goose step. Piaffe was quicker, and then really I bimbled my way up to International Grand Prix, and I remember doing Hickstead for the first year, and I think I got about 60% or something. And Simon turned around and went, oh, for God's sake, Steph, we need to get some proper help, because we don't know what we're doing here. We got to Grand Prix by a fluke. We need to find out what the hell we're doing. So I remember Simon going through, remember the old BD, British Dressage book, where you go through the back of the book. And we were going through the trainers, and he was going, who's in our area that we recognise? And Richard Davison came up and he went, he's not far away, he's only 40 minutes away, ring him. So I rang him, I left a message, and I thought, ugh, he'll never ring me back. Anyway, he did. He rang me at 10:30 at night, and he went, yeah, I'll help you. And so he completely deconstructed us and completely rebuilt us from start to finish. So, and then that's it. The rest is history. I've stayed with Richard all these years since.
Oh, wow. And so how long did it take you to get from your lovely 4-year-old with the funny trot to your Grand Prix horse? 5
years.
Wow.
Yeah, he did his first Grand Prix. Bear in mind, I didn't know what I was doing. It's the blind leading the blind. He did it as a 9-year-old. He just knew what to do. And I still remember, I'm still friends to this day with Tina Atkins. She had Swayze too at Solihull. She did her first Grand Prix, and I did my first Grand Prix, and Tina beat me. And we're still friends to this day, but we still remember that first time we both ever did Grand Prix together.
Wow. So if you, to use your word, deconstruct your journey and think about, what were the key moments and how could you pass on advice for people watching today? Because you took a very, ordinary horse and found your way and then got help. So yeah, what would you distill and give us tips?
I think what you have to do, you have to listen to your horse. I think you gain as much information as you can from lots of different sources, whether it's books, trainers, webinars. Just be a sponge. Take as much information as you can. And it's about trial and error. Remember, we're all about learning through making mistakes. And that's, if anything, that's what social media has not really allowed us to compute anymore, in that it's okay to get it wrong. And Richard will say to me, if I'm doing lines of changes on my young one and I'm mucking it up and I'm like, no, don't. And he went, no, because he's learning by the fact that you asked him to do something and he made the mistake. He knows next time, oh, that was not the right answer to the question she was asking me. So it's about not being embarrassed or ashamed of failure. And because children learn, as I know, children learn through mistakes. And also always understand and listen to your horse, because they will always give you an answer. It may not necessarily be the one you want, but you've got to be quick enough as the rider that when you do get the right answer, you've got to be quick enough to praise the right answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it does.
You know,
and how did you find, because like you say, you're an amateur amongst professionals and other people who know what they're doing, and you're kind of finding your way. How did you find that? How did you find being in that world?
It's different, because I view myself as an amateur in that you try and try and try until you can get it right. Whereas a professional tries and tries and tries until they can't get it wrong. I feel life's too short. I feel that your horse could go and turn itself upside down in a field tomorrow. It could, have an accident, or you could have an accident, or you could have ill health, or who knows, you've got to live for the moment. So if you think that you can get out there and I'm not saying go out there and do Grand Prix and you're just about novice level, but what I'm saying is if you think you can go out and have a crack, go and do it. So, do you know why be afraid of failure? I think the problem is that it is really hard, and I still struggle with it really now, in that being judged by another person's really hard, because they're judging you from the point that you are going around the outside of the arena, and they're saying whether, you can go and sit, and there's nothing worse than hearing that 6 as you're going past and thinking, that's the best passage I can do. And you're saying it's a 6, and it's really hard. I love the moment when you come out of a test and you think your horse has gone in and done its best. It doesn't matter whether it's prelim, novice, elementary. If your horse or pony's gone in and done the best they can, you come out, you pat that, you love that horse, you love your partnership. That's amazing. The worst bit is when you then get critiqued on what you thought was a good effort for you and your partner. And I find that really hard, because I suppose it's like being a mum with children. You have this lioness type attitude of, well, my horse tried his socks off, and if that's all you think, it is really hard, because that's their job. Their job is to judge you, whether they think it's a 10 or a 7 or a 6 or a 5. That's their job. But it's really hard to actually take somebody criticizing you all the time. But then that's the nature of the game. You don't like it, then don't do it. Don't jump some show jumps or cross country, because if the pole's down, or your time faults, you can't take them away.
Yeah, and part of developing is, and you mentioned Richard, didn't you? It's about having a team around you, and Simon's part of your team, and the kids, I'm sure, help pick and help do things as well. So as an amateur, you badge yourself as an amateur, and I love that you're try and get it right as many times as you can, and just love spending time doing what you do. So how do you build a team around you? What's important to you to make things work?
I don't think I build it. I'm very fluid with it all. And my biggest team is Simon. So, Simon this morning, Simon and Annabella we were up at 10 to 6 this morning. They were both hacking out in the dark at 7 o'clock this morning. I'm mucking out, doing the feeds, go and get Ben up, who's barely out of bed. His job is to come downstairs, set the table for breakfast. So when we all come in, breakfast is ready to go. That's his job. So we all work as a family, as a team Croxford. And that's it. And I probably keep it quite insular about it. Yes, I have, the dentist, Matthew the dentist, Tom the farrier, and I have Jane the physio, and Lindsay Potson comes and helps with their backs, and and helps me. I have all that around me as well, but the day-to-day running is just Simon and I. So it's hard. If one of us is ill, it's hard, and that's why we don't try. And we've got 4 horses and a pony at the minute. That is enough for us. It becomes the point where when you've got too many in, it's not fun. I don't think it's fun, and I don't enjoy it. What I enjoy is training a horse to get to Grand Prix. That's what I love. That's my passion, training and having that moment when they have that light bulb moment in the school and suddenly you're like, yeah, you got 5-1 times, or you learned to piaffe and quick and behind, or you went sideways, yay. You know, it's those moments. That's what I did. So people that get fixated with I got 68% out last time, I want 69 this time. You have to sit there and think, why am I doing this? You know, are you doing it because you want to be on teams? Are you doing it because you want to qualify? Are you doing it because you want to sell the horse and make some money? Are you doing it because you enjoy the training? You have to sit down and ask yourself, why are you up at 6 in the morning, at 5 o'clock in the morning, and doing it at 10, like we'll be out doing the horses at 10:30 tonight? You have to question yourself, why are you doing it? And I would say my reasons for doing it have changed over the years, and like I say, just be fluid. We just roll with it. We just go with it.
That's brilliant. Yeah. I think, yeah, like you say, you've got to as well, especially when you've got, you know, it is just you. It is just a family team, and you've got other commitments as well. You know, it's not the only part of your life, is it?
No, absolutely no. You know, and it's the biggest revelation is Pam. Oh, I've now discovered Pam comes and helps me clean the house once a week. Oh my Lord. It's like I've been given another lease of life, because it's not having somebody come in and help you do the household chores, as well as getting the kids to school, getting the uniforms done, getting the washing done, getting the shopping done, making sure the horses are all mucked out. Are they out? Are they in? Are the feeds done? Are there, like saxophone tonight, hockey training on a Monday and a Thursday night? There's so many balls that you've got to have up in the air. But like I say, it's been an absolute revelation. I fought having a cleaner for 15 years. Because I thought, I'll just clean up for the cleaner, so there's no point. But because it's somebody I know and I get on with, it's just been, honestly, I've had her now for about 3 or 4 weeks and she's been amazing. So if I advise anybody, get a cleaner. I can't believe it. It's been fantastic. So it's silly things. I'm not worrying about, oh my God, I gotta get back from Ben's hockey training or rugby training and go and clean the kitchen or the bathrooms or that side of it. It's just suddenly, opened my world up. And I can't believe 2 hours a week can open my world up so much. It really has. There we go, get a cleaner.
Yeah. So more time with the horses, hopefully. And I think that was one thing that struck both Heidi and I when we did the podcast with you, is how much you hack and how little you actually do the kind of the high level movements in schooling. So perhaps help the audience understand a bit about your routine with the horses, what you do.
Yeah, well, I've never been one for sitting and then spending an hour at a time in the school. My horses will do 35, 40 minutes at the most. I would argue it's the equivalent to like a MetaFit session. So it's not pootling around. It's quite full up, intense, but we're not working on one. We're not going, right, today I'm working on passage, or today I'm working on changes, or today I'm working on the pirouette work. I don't do that. I turn around and I park it. And sometimes even if it's going slightly wrong, that's the hardest thing, is to turn around and go, oh, I want to try that again. I go, no, he's getting tired, park it, try it again tomorrow. And you have to sometimes think, I am the bigger person. I am the bigger person's relationship. I need to leave it and give. And so we tend to hack a day, school a day, hack a day, day off. So mine will probably only go in the school twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. But what I do is I do a lot of schooling hacks, where I think that if I can do 15 ones along the canter track or in the hayfield, if I can do them there, I can do them anywhere. So I try and develop their skills on different terrains. So we'll be on undulating tracks, we'll be on grass, we'll be on tarmac, we'll be, so, and I have to say, touch wood, we very rarely have any lameness issues, because we've done that right from the word go. They've always hacked on different surfaces. They've never been intensely trained for long periods of time. And I don't know, maybe we've just stumbled across something that works for us. I mean, we don't have the treadmills. We have hills in Derbyshire. We don't have the water treadmills. We have puddles. So we work with nature, should we say, when we live in the hills of Derbyshire.
Fantastic. We spoke to Sue Dyson a little while ago, and that was one of the things she said is so important for horses, and one of the reasons she thinks for lots of lameness is that horses are constantly working on the surface rather than working on all sorts of different terrain, like you say, and developing balance and, you know, just that more, I guess, more flexible strength.
Yeah, it's almost like, remember the old days of the hunting and the eventing and that, they would call it hardening. You know, you harden the legs, whereas you really didn't understand what hardening of the legs meant. But what I think it probably means that the strengthening of the limbs, and you know, and like I say, we've just perhaps stumbled on a regime that seems to keep our horses, you know, strong and sound. We don't have a horse walker. We don't have the space for a horse walker. Our horse walk is the half a kilometre hack down to the school in the fields. So that's our warm up. And our horse walking, and obviously the warm down is the walk back again from the school back to the stables. So yeah, you know, we just, you know, we've just stumbled across, and we're very lucky that that we've got, you know, touch wood, we don't seem to have much lameness. I mean, Juris, the 7-year-old that we've got now, that is virtually knocking on the door of Middlesore, he took nearly 2 years to canter right. Now, we could have had him scanned, we could have had him crawled over, blocked out, flexion tests and everything. What we did do, we had Arnie Agnew, who's our vet, who's brilliant, came out, and we said to him, do we need to be worried? He's really struggling, canter right. He will give me left canter all day long, even in canter, but I can't go trot to canter. He just can't trot to canter right. And he trotted him up and down. We did some tight circles. He flexion test. He went, Steph, I can't lame this horse. He says, short of us going in and really looking in detail to understand if there is an issue. He says, but some horses, especially when they're big, take much longer to strengthen and balance. And that's one of the things where I had to think outside the box. So I had to teach him walk to canter right first, because he would do that. Then I taught him piaffe to canter right. Then I taught him passage to canter right, and eventually trot to canter right. And he now like I say, now he just, you know, it's not even a question. He's just there. He just knows, you know, it is. But, you know, we could have gone down that route, but, you know, we chose not to. We didn't. Well, sometimes I think, and I found that at the moment, you know, with the vets and stuff, the vets are in a difficult situation, because it's like us. If the US X-rayed and scanned any of us from head to toe, oh my God, they'd find, I'm sure, maybe a fused vertebrae or close kissing spine, or there'll be something, or a bit of arthritis in your foot. You know, there'd be something. I mean, I don't envy a vet's job at all. But none of mine, I've never had any of mine X-rayed when I bought them or scanned. I've just had a stage vetting done on them because they were young enough. And I keep thinking, well, if they bang out 15 ones, there can't be too much wrong. Or if they can piaffe and passage like a Trojan, I'm not worried, you know? You know, it's going to be like us, you're going to be right-handed or left-handed, or you're going to be slightly stronger in one hind than the other. We all are, because that's how nature makes us. Nothing's perfect. Nature isn't perfect.
Well, while you're talking about being in nature and the amount of hacking you do, we've got a question in from Ange Mason-Matthews, and she says, what sort of hacking exercises could Steph recommend I use to improve my native pony's way of going? We are at prelim novice. Thanks.
So I mean, if you're lucky enough, you got hill work, puddles, you can't go wrong. Playing with your transitions, quick fire transitions, trot, walk, trot. And the other things then progress on direct and transitions, canter, walk, canter. All that time thinking about sitting them a bit back. But again, like I said, it's quick fire transitions like that, but only doing them for a very short window, because they will tire really quickly, because it's quite intense, both mentally and physically, to do those quick fire transitions. And also silly things like you could even play with doing a bit of the piaffe steps. Everyone's like, oh no, you can't play with your piaffe steps until you're at least into one. You're like, no, use it as a training aid. Call it jiggy dogs. Quick steps behind. So it gets them ready, gets them quicker. If you want them to think quicker behind. And if you can put a voice aid to it, that's what I do, voice aid. My voice aid for Mr. Hyde is, for Mr. Ben is, so he knows when I go, he's got to move his legs quicker. So it's things like that. So if you can teach them, and if they offer it when you're out hacking, get that quicker strides behind, put a voice aid to it, because then you can transfer it to the school or the warm-up where you get that quicker reaction, and then you can trot out of it or canter out of it. And it gets them thinking and being a bit more buzzy and a bit more off your leg. It's quick fire. It's like 2 strides of walk, then trot off, 2 strides of walk, trot off, 2 strides of walk, trot off, halt, rein back, trot off, all that. So it's really quick fire all the way. And they get, so their brain's buzzy and they will switch onto it, and you'll be whizzing around by the time you've done that.
That's really interesting, because quick fire to me isn't 2 strides. It's clearly not quick.
But I say, you get really 2 strides of walk and you're off again. Yeah. 2 strides off, 2 strides off.
Yeah.
So they're constantly going, oh my God. But that's what you want.
We've got another question, Steph, which might, again, in similar territory. So what exercises do you recommend for helping your horse sit more behind? I'm doing elementary and working on connection. It's Jet and Christy, so you've seen them in person.
Oh yeah. It is. It's combining lateral work with them riding forward and then sitting back. So you could do, for example, things like leg yielding in the canter from the quarter line to the side of the arena, and then a medium canter. Then at the end of it, put a 10-meter circle in. When you've advanced from that, you put your 10-meter circle, and then you do a walk transition. You walk 2 or 3 strides, then you canter on again. And then you medium canter down the next on side, 10-meter circle, sit them back, walk. And then it's being quick enough in the reaction time as the rider to go, sending them forward, sending them sideways, sitting them back, sending them on again. So the hind legs have no choice but to be sitting underneath and weight bearing more because of the exercises you're asking them to do. But again, like I've said, you only want short bursts of those. And again, walk, canter, canter, walk. The way to do it with your simple changes is to make your circle much smaller, coming into like a 10-meter or 8-meter circle. Get your quarters in so the inside leg is much more weight bearing already. And then imagine that there is a cliff and you really don't want to go off the edge of it. You would stop if there was a massive abyss at the bottom. You would seriously stop your horse. So as you're coming in, you get the quarters to the inside of a circle. And as you come into that walk, you put hunting position, legs forward, hunting position, so they can't pull you forward. And as they come into that, that first stride of walk, you quickly, sharply turn the shoulders to the inside of that circle. So it gives them no choice, but they have to sit on the inside hind leg. But don't release and don't be fooled, because if you release too early, they will jog. So you have to make sure you hold for the first stride of walk, then release your hands. So, and that will help a lot with the sitting behind. And then what they do, then they get wise to that. You see, everything's evolving. So then they'll get used to that and they go, she's bringing me in on a circle. She's going to ask, I'm going to trot because she's going to make me sit behind it. It's hard work and I don't want to do that. So then what you do is you pretend and you can bring them back and they go, I know, I step no. And then you ride them out of it, go, you thought you knew what I wanted, but you don't. And that's the key. The more that you train them, the more you have to deprogram them. because they think they know. I'll go round with Mr. Ben round the Grand Prix test, and he knows if he goes left, it's Grand Prix. If he goes right, it's Grand Prix special. He just knows that. That's what he knows. He goes, yeah, and I've got this, and he's ready. I mean, it's autopilot. So he's ready. But there's times when he goes, got this, and I'm like, no, you haven't, because you're not listening. And what you have to do, and that's what I do with him all the time now, is I prep him as if I'm coming into the movement. Don't do it. Don't do the movement. Because you sit there and go, see, you don't always know what I'm going to ask you. I have just asked you to shoulder in the canter, not shoulder in preparation for the half pass or for a pirouette coming up. I've just asked you to shorten, collect in a shoulder in. Now we're going to come back out of it again. So you've always got to stay one step ahead in schooling. It's not a case of just going round in circles and just trotting around or cantering around, thinking all the time, right, well, how can I, make it, are they listening? And I push them on, bring them back, sit them. So change the pace, push the pace on, all those things, so that the horse never really knows what you actually are asking them to do. Keep them on the toes.
What do you find most difficult to train in your horses?
I don't know. Probably the walk, actually, because we don't do that, do we? The walk, it's boring walk, isn't it? Mm. And and what I find with my chestnut one at the minute, it's amazing. He minces out on a hack. He strides for a 10 coming back home, and it drives me insane, because then I go into school and he minces again. So I think that's the hardest thing, getting them to unlock their back in the walk for the extended walks. Where I say, because they want to, the natural instinct, especially my type of horses, is they want to shorten and piaffe and passage. They want to come up and do more elevated moves. Whereas actually saying, get your blooming neck down, stretch and walk out. And they don't want to do that. So I do what I call the barrel roll, where I make them swing their barrel as they're walking, so they have to release their barrel before you then relax the neck down and say, get your neck down now.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
Well, you start off by doing that as if you're doing one stride of leg heel to the right, then you walk straight for a stride, then one leg heel to the left, walk for a stride, and then they're programmed. So it's a bit like, as soon as you ask them one way, they're then thinking, I'm going to go the other way. And then eventually what you do is you take out the sideways movement, and all that moves is the barrel. And therefore you get the front and the back legs and the front legs, footfall should be the same. And all that swings is the middle, and to get them to give, to drop down. So you do that. And that's what you can do with the changes as well. If you stop the anticipation and the flying changes as well, you get them so as they land, they think they've got to go stride to the side, when eventually you lose that and you hold the outside rein to stop the movement to the side. You support them in the outside rein and just hold your inside leg there a bit longer before you change the aid. And then they learn, if her leg stays there, that means don't change. There you go.
We had another question earlier, which we mentioned to you actually, which is also from Ange. Whilst we're on your training techniques, how do you train a horse that's not your normal lighter sports horse type? And she said earlier she's got a native, and train them to be more up in front. So she said, it was funny, we were reading it to Steph earlier, Ange, and it made us smile, because we've all had horses like this, where you've said, I hasten to add, I do not lack speed or energy, but it's only going forward and not up at the moment. And you want up, don't you? So we've all been there. So Steph, how would you help her with her flat work and getting that oomph and up?
I think the same thing as what we said before. It's this, bringing them back, pushing them on, bringing them back. It's having that ability. It's having the adjustability within the paces themselves. So that there you go forward, and then you bring in the back. Things like, you say, 10-meter circles to a simple change, little bit of shoulder in the, like shoulder in down the long side in the trot, or the canter sit in the back, almost bringing them back in the trot. So they think a walk, tap them up the bum, and then send them forward again. So they're like, so it teaches them to sit more behind, getting them quicker behind, then start playing with them with, again, play with the little half steps. Get brave, have a go. Nobody said you can't do it. Get them jiggy jogs behind. Do that canter walk, canter, direct transitions. It's about not just lolloping around the school in the same pace. and at the same rhythm within the same pace. It's playing within, I can't call it playing within the gears. So you're not stuck in third gear. You've got first, second, third, fourth and fifth gear. Fifth gear, only time you need fifth gear is when you're doing extended trot going across the centre line. The rest of the time, you're in fourth gear, quarter line and three-quarter line. You're going third gear from A or C as you're building up into fourth gear, fifth gear going across the centre line. But playing with those gears within the paces is so important. Don't just sit there and just be happy with what they're offering you. Yeah. Just ask a little bit more, but not in a nasty way. It's saying, okay, right, we're in third gear. Let's go to fourth for a bit. Okay, let's bring him back to two for a bit. And let's go third. Okay, back in third again. Let's, okay, let's up this a bit. Let's go up into canter. Let's play with adjustability within the canter. And then suddenly, it won't happen overnight. It will take time. And introducing the lateral work. So I say leg yielding from the quarter line to the side of the arena, then putting them into a shoulder in position, sitting them more weight behind. Do that in trot, do that in canter, do that in walk. There's all these things, sideways, forward, bringing them back, forward. All those things help with the adjustability and the sitting behind.
Brilliant. Thank you. Should we chat about where you get your horses from? So I think there's probably lots of other people like you, like us, who have got not the biggest budgets in the planet, but would still like to play and still like to have a go at dressage and what have you. And when you've got a small budget, you it's even more pressure to get it right, isn't there? Because you've got one or two horses and that's it. That's all you've got to play with. So what do you look for when you are choosing a horse? And we know what happened with Mr. President, but
I'm really strange in that I just get a feeling. I don't know whether it's the right feeling or the wrong feeling. Like at the moment, the market's really strong, isn't it, for horses, especially because of Brexit and things. All the horses are up. Your £10,000 horses are now 20. Your 20,000 are like 30 to 40. That kind of high the problem. However, I've recently, I don't know if you've seen I bought Maggie. She's called Maggie after my late mother-in-law's first pony that she ever had. That's what the children decided they wanted to call it, was Maggie. So she's called Maggie. She's up in the field at the minute, and I saw her in a video. And she went to my friend Lindsay Poxon, Marcel Lusink in Holland, sent her a video through of her trotting round, and I thought, that's quite nice. And I thought, I don't want a mare. It's upsetting the balance of my herd with the geldings. Don't want this. Anyway, I said, Lindsay, find out how much is she? Anyway, it came in, she's €8,000. A 4-year-old, €8,000. And I thought, do you know what? And then I remember messaging Marcel back a few weeks ago and said, by the time you paid import tax, you've paid transportation, you got her into the country, she's not going to be what I would consider a cheap horse. I said, so we okay, well, what will you do? And I went, if you can get her to my door for under €8,000, I will have her, otherwise no. And she's now in my top field. So I wasn't having a mare, and I didn't really need another chestnut driving type with 4 white socks. And yeah, she's having a wolf teeth taken out on Monday, and so they are out there. I mean, I paid 2.5 for Mr. P. I paid Mr. Ben, who's the black one, Thug. I paid 3,500 for him. Jurist, who is my 7-year-old, the chestnut, that his favourite pace is Holt, closely followed by Walk, and maybe a Rainback if you're lucky. Anything else is too much effort. It's, he was just over 3,500. And Mr. Hyde was 4,000. So they are out there. I think we're all worked in for Maggie. I think she was just over 5,000. So they are out there at the moment. You just got to find the right types. I like that. That's the type of horse I like, that makes my heart sing. I can see all these beautiful warm bloods going around, and I look and I'm going, yeah, but yeah. And like I say, I saw this mare who's got similar breeding to my Jurist, who's my 7-year-old. And I just went, yeah, really. And it plays on my mind all the time. I sit there and go, don't need a mare. And I kept looking at the video going, don't need a mare. Really don't. I don't need another horse. I don't need a mare. And like I say, I have got a mare, and she's in the top field at the minute with my Gamblethorpe horse that came from Denise up there, because Richard said to me a couple of times, a couple of lessons ago, and for God's sake, will you just, before I die, will you just get a normal horse? And he said, can you just train a normal horse to Grand Prix before I die? And I was like, oh. So I have a 2-year-old Fiditans cross, Don Henrico in top field as well. So to me, that's the boring horse. Maggie, to me, is the heart horse, because she's legs are all up here, and the power and the energy. So that's what I was drawn to all those years ago with Mr. President.
I think, Steph, you showed Thea and I a video of Maggie when we were at Kingswood dressage competition, and you said to us, I don't want a mare, I don't want a chestnut mare.
Well, what do you think? And we went, oh, she's
so
lovely.
You were involved in, So what have I done? What have I done? I kept looking at. I told you I did the same. I did the same with Jurist. It was Chantal van Dijk, who's a friend in Holland that I bought another mare from a few years ago, Antsy, and she was such a lovely, and she still is a lovely mare. And she had Jurist on a Facebook page, and I remember sharing him onto my Facebook page, saying if anybody is looking for a fab, it was a 2-year-old stallion at the time, and I did the same thing. I kept looking, going, it's nice, tis nice. Simon said, ask Chantal how much it is. And I went, oh, she said, just see if he can canter and if he can walk. If he can canter and he can walk, then, ask him how much he is. And there we go. That's the rest is history. He's now in the stables.
Amazing.
You've answered Angie's question there, then, which is, do you prefer different horses to the classic dressage warm blood?
And hello to the cat.
You've answered that one.
Hello, this is Thunder. Yeah, this is Thunder, aren't you? Hey, I said this is Thunder, who arrived in 2016 by the post box and hasn't gone anywhere since. Have you? Hey.
Oh.
Yeah, he's there now. There he goes. Off he goes. He arrived with half a tail, and he arrived just before we went on holiday to America for 2 weeks. We took the children to Florida for 2 weeks, and we said, "Oh, bless him, he won't be here when we get back." Literally, as drove into the drive, his little head reappeared by the gate in the red post box. There he was going, "I've been waiting for you," and he hasn't gone anywhere since.
I love that. And he's frozen on my screen, so actually all I could see was the underside of his belly.
Oh no.
I was wondering what we were going to see then.
Has it gone back to normal or
it's
not?
It's just got you now with your lovely
Has
ears.
it gone back to normal?
It was brilliant because you said he literally hasn't gone anywhere since. He was just still there. It's fab.
He's now, yes. Oh. He's stuck there. He's now sitting sulking on the table. Bless him.
Bless him. We've got another question. We're going back to talking about training, but let's ask Vanessa's question. How long did it take you to work in longer periods of canter, speaking as a 40-something learning to ride who huffs and puffs about the school? I feel your pain, Vanessa.
Like I say, I find that the canter's better than the sitting trot. I would rather be in canter. I think the chances are that she's probably nervous being in the canter, so she's not breathing properly. Whereas as she gets more confident in the canter, her breathing will get more regulated and she will find it easier. So the more canter work she does, probably in short bursts, she'll find she'll be able to then regulate breathing easier and better. I always find that when I'm on youngsters and I think, I'm going to die, my mouth goes dry and I am out of breath. And it's because I'm not breathing properly. Whereas on the ones that, you know, at the Grand Prix or Middle Tour or that level that you think aren't going to actually kill me, hopefully not anytime soon, that you concentrate on the exercises. But what I'd say to her to help her with the breathing, concentrate on having not just cantering round arena or circles. Think about doing exercises within the canter. If you think about doing exercises within the canter, take your mind off worrying about being in the canter. So as long as you keep your mind active, it helps you to relax your body, brain active, body relaxed.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah, that's the only thing that enables me to survive when I'm jumping is breathing, as in consciously breathing. I know technically you have to breathe anyway to survive, but you know what I mean.
Yes. What do? You jump, breathe, jump, breathe.
Yes.
I don't. I just do all the jumping and then I breathe at the end.
My God, you must go around like a lightning then.
Yeah. I just completely forget. So interesting. Do you do anything for fitness, Steph? Is it just right? You just ride the horses, muck out, and do the usual stuff? Is there anything that you do?
Well, I would argue that I go running with the dogs. My children would say I don't run, I waddle. So there are times when I think I'm going at quite a pace and I look at my children and they're walking next to me and I'm off and I'm running, and even the dogs are walking next to me and I think I'm being active up the Derbyshire Hills. So I wouldn't say, let's say, running. It's quite hard at the moment with the gyms and everything with COVID. I was very good. I'd go to spin classes and stuff when Ben was at swim training, and I would go on the bikes when Annabelle was training, or I'd make myself go running and things. But so COVID, it's almost scared you about going into gyms again, really, hasn't it? So I use the excuse when you've got dogs. They need walking, so you either go for a brisk walk or a waddle, as my kids call it, and try and do that every day as well as the riding.
Yeah. Good. Should we talk a little bit about SDU?
Oh,
because it's quite exciting.
Yes, well, yeah, so my silly brain child of an idea, when again we were in lockdown number 3, so about March time, wasn't it? We had lockdown 1, which was the long period, then we had Christmas, which was lockdown 2, then March we were in lockdown 3, weren't we?
Yeah.
So Simon made a mistake. He had to go to site because Simon's an engineering geologist, so he had to go to site. So that day I was walking the dogs on my own, and that was dangerous because I had time to think. And I noticed on British Dressage, somebody was saying, is there any amateur social media accounts that I can follow? Because I love looking at and following other fellow amateurs journeys and seeing how they progress. So I sat there and thought, I don't think that we've got a site. I know, the eventers have got their fantastic SDU, but do we actually have anywhere where we can go and put things online or have a discussion? But because the world isn't perfect, and what happens with social media, anybody else, is that you try to get that, what you perceive to be the perfect moment, the best you can do. Then that goes on social media. What they don't show, none of us show, is the 25 videos or 30 photographs that enable you to get to that point, to put on social media. And it was like, why are we embarrassed about failure? And I don't know whether it's a social media thing that you think that everything's got to be perfect all the time. Life isn't like that. Life is about learning from your mistakes and to not be embarrassed by your mistakes and embracing your mistakes and evolving as a person or a combination, partnership. So I think that's really how it sort of started. And the reason it got called Shite Dressage United or Silly Dressage United for the children, and it got shortened to SDU, was I wanted to make it feel like it was a really bad football club or a football team where, you know, we could all recognize each other. And that's why I have the badges, so that you can go to any normal show, and if you see someone, a little pin badge, you know that you can go up and you're more like go and engage in a conversation with somebody that's wearing a little SDU badge because you're from the, you know, the same ilk, the same ethos, then you probably would another member, you know, another British dressage member, because they're quite intimidating places. And I'm the same. I mean, I'll go to the local competitions. I'm quite happy going and competing nationally and internationally at Premier Leagues or high profile shows, because probably I know quite a few of the people there now. But when I go to the local level, I find it really intimidating. And I just wanted it. There are a number of people that go to these competitions that probably go on their own. It's quite a lonely place. So you bring out your horse, you go and do your test, good or bad, whatever, you're on your own, you put your pony away and off you go. Whereas if you see somebody having a badge on the lapel or a sticker on there, an SDU sticker on the, you know, the wagon or the car, you're more likely to go and have a conversation and open up dialogue with other people, members. And I think that's what I wanted it to be, a place where you don't need to feel ashamed. And I mean, I do find it hard as the only admin when you get it all kicking off and you're having to go delete and block. And you do get an influx every so often on the page where you get quite a few Karens and you have to sort them out, and then it all settles back down again and it's all right. But so really, I mean, I never thought it'd be nearly 70,000 members ever.
What do you love the most about it, Steph, now that, because it has got so many members now and it's kind of blossomed? So what do you love? Apart from, I know you said about recognising each other, but what else about it?
I love the fact that people embrace that they shouldn't feel embarrassed about making mistakes, that their horse goes galloping out. I don't know if you saw the one last week or something, where they halted, they saluted, and then the horse just legged it out the end of the arena, jumped the boards, went out the disappeared off. And you're just like, do you know, that's like, normally you would turn around and go, oh my God, I just can't believe that happened. But now people are going, I'll park that. Did we get that recorded? We better put that on SDU, you know. So it's having that place to feel, being able to have a laugh at yourself and let other people join in and have a giggle, and it being a group that you can have a giggle and a giggle about getting it wrong. And that's why I'm quite strict about people going in for the boot, you know, giving, you know, the boot, in that that's not the point of this. Yes, we all make mistakes. Yes, we all get things wrong sometimes, but that's human nature. And you can't go in and criticize people when they've exposed themselves in the way they have, because normally they probably wouldn't do that on their normal social media accounts, where they probably wouldn't even put that on the, you know, on the page. I did it when it was starting off. I put one on of Mr. Jurist, and I put social media picture versus the reality. And because he's a driving horse, his nature is he wants to curl behind the vertical. And I spend all my time going, ears up, don't hold, ears up, don't hold, keep you out. And I then got somebody on there going, poor horse in roll cur. And I'm like, you really don't get the post, do the irony of the fact that the two things, and you know, and I just sat there and I thought, this is really what's wrong with, we're all very good as keyboard warriors, hiding behind that keyboard, aren't we? Would they come up to the show and say that to me? That moment, oh my God, that poor horse, you've got it in roll curve. No, I haven't. It was a moment in time where he probably sneezed and hit him. And, you know, he just, you know, and came back down.
Steph, we've got a question that links to what you're saying right now. So Andrew said, I avoid competitions until I think I'm doing really well, but if it goes badly, I feel my confidence really gets knocked and I avoid going for a while until I build up enough confidence again. What would you recommend?
I recommend getting a fire, a match, a nice glass of wine or a glass of gin, and you sit there and you ceremoniously burn your sheet, because that's one person's opinion at one moment in time, and it shouldn't affect your life. If you were pleased with your horse, it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks at the end of the day. You think, you know, it's where you are in your training at that moment in time. And like I say, when I have, oh God, and it happens, of course it does. We went all the way 2 days across Europe to Crozet, and one judge had us on 59%. And I think he only made one mistake in the whole of the Grand Prix. In that moment, when you come out, you think, my horse gave his all, he tried his absolute heart out, and then suddenly you get your result and think, God, that judge, when my horse tried his heart out, that judge didn't even think we were worthy of 60%. You know, that's hard. And 2 days traveling back with that feeling is awful. But you have to pick yourself up, dust yourself off and go, right, come on, I'm going again. And I think that's what, you see, Richard said to me years and years ago, he said, never put your life on hold for dressage. And I've got the kids, and I've a life, a husband, you know, a home, you know, a career. And I sat there and think, you know, if I'm having a bad day, look at what you've got around you and be thankful for everything else. At the end of the day, it's only going round in circles. You know, nobody died. You know, there are people putting their life on the line every day. We just go round in circles. And I think that's how you have to you have to pull yourself back from the brink and go, do you know what? I can dust myself off and I can go again another day. And it's, you know, it's what you've got to do. We all go through it. We all feel the same.
We do.
Good advice, very good advice. And talking of competitions, because we came along, as Heidi said, to the Kingswood SDU competition. You had 5 this year. Vanessa's asking, are you going to have any more? I'm guessing that's physical ones, but you're also, Steph, make sure everybody knows about the online one that's happening.
Yeah, now that's E-Riders, Susie at E-Riders. She's got some other beautiful rosettes. Have you seen them? And yeah. So she's running, while we're on the down season, E-Riders are running our online international league. And it's a bit like Hook a Duck, everyone's a winner. So everybody that enters, every horse or pony gets a horse treat, and every rider gets the badge, no matter where you are in the world. And that's running over the winter season. And I was going to probably wait just after Christmas. Let's all get Christmas out the way first. And then what I will do is I'll put forward and see if I do some real live UK ones next year. And I was thinking whether what I might try and do is see, because we have quite a big American and Australian contingent as well in the membership, and actually, you know, if people, you know, want to run, you know, SDU shows under our umbrella there, and they get the badges, I can send badges out, I can send the mints, and you know, so it's just really trying to find some venues that actually want to run it and do that. So you know, it was fun. I mean, we must have had in the 5 shows, must have had about 500 entries, considering it was just one of those things that was thrown together in March, April. And, oh, should we have a few shows? And it, you know, it was brilliant. It was really quite well supported.
And for people who don't know about it, tell them about the Naughty Unicorn Prize.
Oh, yes. Well, that's another thing. Yes. And we have that in the online shows as well. We have the Naughty Unicorn. So basically, we have a Naughty Unicorn accumulator. So, for example, there's number of points, accumulator points for bronking, kicking out to the aid, getting down and rolling, getting your rider off, galloping out the arena, trashing the judge's car. We have all those kind of things that potentially could happen. And at every show that we did, the live shows, we gave out a Naughty Unicorn award. And what was so nice about that, generally the people that achieved them were devastated when they came out their test, because the horses were rearing, they were bronking, they were napping, wouldn't go and do the tests, getting stuck down one end of the arena. So they were coming out in tears. And I was stood at the end and I would just go, do you know what? You could be winning this prize. And I have never seen the delight. Their faces change from sheer devastation to pure delight when they realise that they're taking home the tackiest trophy you have ever seen at the show.
That's brilliant. We've got a yay from Vanessa about more shows coming up, I think.
Oh, good. Fantastic.
Wow.
Fantastic. We've just talked for an hour and 15 minutes, Steph.
Wow.
Well,
like I say, you know what I'm like? Gas bag, I am. A right gas bag.
Oh, it's been lovely. I've had such a nice evening chatting and finding out.
Well, like I say, you've been good. You've been on juice. I've been on wine. I'm fine. I'll be sitting here till 10 o'clock going, oh, anybody else would ask me anything else? I'll be fine.
Great questions. So thanks very much, everybody, for putting your questions forward. It's really nice to hear, Steph's answers and give us those top tips.
Absolutely. It's the epitome of mixing expertise with fun, down-to-earthness. I love it.
Exactly. And also, we'll probably say with the horse tribe and that, remember, we do an offer, don't we, for the floor plans and things, don't we?
Yes, we do. Tell more.
Yeah. Oh, well, at the moment, I just know that is it Equivisions at the moment. I'm doing floor plans with Equivisions, and she Julie Garrett charge it. I think it was £150. So you have to convert that to Aussie dollars and American dollars, and you get a wrist speaker with your music uploaded onto the wrist speaker, and a floor plan. For your dressage music for whatever level you want for £150, which is quite a good deal. I don't know how she's managing to do it, but yeah, so she's doing that, and obviously I do deals with Horse Tribe anyway for floor plan design, with Horse Tribe and Horse and Horse Fest as well. And what dates have we got for Horse Fest next year?
It's to be announced, but it's going to be July. We're not far off an announcement for next year. And
very exciting announcement.
Very exciting announcement. So exciting. So watch this space. Anyone who's on this webinar, you'll be on our mailing list. We won't bombard you, but you will be the first to hear about what's happening. And you'll also get the best deals on tickets. And that's for our festival. And Steph is coming along and being one of our experts then, sharing her expertise. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to be drinking prosecco and dancing around the fire pit together, as well as, watching you ride and things like that.
Or should I say Annabelle and I arguing as we go the wrong way around our pas de deux.
Oh, we can't wait for you and Annabelle to do something together.
There will there'll be a complete domestic in the middle of it all, I can guarantee.
That will be the best part. Like I said, I can't wait. Can people see my screen that I've just quickly shared?
Yes, we can.
Just wanted to this Steph, you are marking the end of Horse Tribe 2021 webinars. Woo! We can now all relax, drink our wine and our gin and have a fabulous year. And then next year we've got some ace people coming up. So this is just January. We've got Liz Daniels, who's always mega popular. This time she's transforming our muddy furry beasts into marvelous, clean, shiny ponies. And what Liz can't do with a grooming kit and whatever is amazing. She does it so quickly. Then we've got Simon Kokoza on the 13th of Jan. He came in again, has been before, did a fabulous webinar about core conditioning, and this time he's going to talk about his methods for getting kissing goodbye to kissing spine. We all need to do that. 20th of January, Justine Harrison's coming back again. These are all returners, about understanding fear in horses and what we can do to help them. And then new addition, we've got Tracy Cole, who's an NLP master practitioner and trainer, and someone who's fabulous at helping in rider confidence problems. So some of the maybe people who've come today and said, oh, how do I have the confidence to go back to the show again? Come and join us with Tracy as well, conquering confidence problems. So that's what's coming up.
Brilliant. That looks exciting.
Yeah. And so I think, does that mean we all get to say Merry Christmas to each other now?
Oh, well, I've got my answers on.
I didn't put my Christmas hat on or anything.
Have you seen that, Simon? Have you seen, this is what I've got, because Simon, I've got the fidget. Look, because he fidgets when he's in his Teams calls, and he always plays with anything the kids have got on the desk, you know, like pens or the rubbers or the things like that. So I bought him a fidget toy advent calendar.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so he has a fidget toy to play with every day of December.
He is so lucky.
Yeah, I know. Just tell him that.
Lucky to have you.
Yeah. He would argue it's the other way round.
Mutual.
Yes.
Brilliant. Nice Christmas message, I think.
Christmas.
Thanks very much, everybody. I think
that's all right. Thank you, and have a good night. Anyway, go and get your gins.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Steph. You've been amazing.
Here's Thunder. That's Thunder again. Bye. Just get him a stretch as well as he walks around. Yeah. Have a lovely Christmas.
Yeah, and you. Bye, everybody. Bye.